I was basically putting a meme and I got like 30,000 followers overnight.
From that?
From the meme. It's so confusing. It's one thing I never get. I'm like, how have you not done well and I've put all my effort into you? I was just way out of my depth. There was too many orders for me to manage. Delivery companies were going on strike. And I knew at that minute that was a scammer. I thought my world had ended that day and I was like, financially, how am I coming back for this?
Welcome guys to the first podcast on the channel. I'm Joe, your host, as most of you will know from previous videos, and today we are kicking off with Scottish influencer, YouTuber and entrepreneur Abbie Blyth. So Abbie, thank you very much for coming on. It's the first podcast that we've had on the channel, also the first podcast that you've done as well. So we're looking forward to it. Basically the idea of this is just to get a better understanding into you for all your followers and try and just maybe get a few untold stories throughout that they maybe haven't heard. But before everything, we obviously need to look back at the very, very start. You weren't always an influencer. So what did you do before?
So I was a makeup artist for, maybe like 6 or 7 years, because I ended up doing influencing and makeup at the same time at one point. But I went to college and did that. And then I worked in like salons and like beauty stores in Glasgow. And then...
Did you leave school and go straight into... You're a makeup artist?
Well, I worked in a makeup counter in Benefit and then Urban Decay. And then I was like, I really like this. So then I went and done it in college and then moved on to like salons. And then I got booked for Quiz.
Right.
Which is what then kickstarted everything else.
So when you were leaving school or going through school, did you always want to do makeup? Or was it just
never.
Random?
Do you know what the funny thing is? I did when I used to work at McDonald's at the Four Corners.
Right.
And... they used to always say, well, really like when I used to get my makeup on, but your makeup's lovely, so they would put me on face painting. And then I pure enjoyed doing like face painting. I was like, I think I could maybe do this. And then I started watching like YouTube tutorials, but it was never my plan, ever. I thought I was going to go do primary teaching. That's
what you wanted to do when you were at school? Mm-hmm. So after school, did you just go straight into working all these jobs? Was there anything in between or just straight into college?
No, straight into working up the fort.
So for me, like, with going from being a makeup artist into becoming an influencer, probably a lot of people that's watching as well won't be able to piece it together. But how do you go from like the makeup artist into becoming an influencer? So
Quiz had booked me to do makeup for an influencer.
Right, so I don't know what Quiz is, right?
Right, so Quiz Clothing,
the people that don't know
Quiz Clothing in Glasgow, which is like a massive women's fashion brand. They've got stores, they're online. They had, it was actually Kirsten that booked me for that job, Kirsten Cameron.
Right, okay. See, this is quite interesting because I don't have a clue.
Yeah, so she kind of created the social media department for Quiz.
Right.
So she got me into an influencer's makeup. And then I used to always go to jobs. Like I do believe that whatever you do, you need to sell it. So like I would always go to jobs with like my hair done, my makeup done, as if I was going to night out. And then they were like, you could just jump in a few outfits if you want and we'll give you money. And I was going to Ibiza that weekend and I was like, extra.
Let's get it done. Spending
money, I'll do it. And then Quiz had booked me a few times. And then other brands like iCrush, which is another big like kind of Glasgow brand, they then booked me. So it was like who could book me the most.
Off each other?
And it was like they'd want to steal me on certain days. And
so was that the moment where you kind of thought, I could maybe try and go into this full time, no? I
never thought about influencing. I always thought I'll be behind the scene and do like, influencers and celebrities makeup. Like I went away with Towicast. Like the Quiz have took me everywhere. They took me like Marrakesh, they took me Amsterdam, Ibiza, loads of, like LA I'm sure they took me one time as well.
Is that for like shoots or campaigns?
Yeah, to do like makeup on all the models or like celebrities, whatever.
So when did the change happen? Like...
It's actually funny because I think people think it's because I tried to do it. I was basically putting a meme.
Right.
So I went to Ibiza, went to Ocean. This was years and years ago. And I went with like wedges on, this high-waisted swimsuit, like pure glam. And I put up a picture and someone made a meme about it saying it was like a picture of me and a picture of like two girls on a lilo in a pool with a towel over their head saying like, certain girls in Ibiza compared to me, and obviously I was like the pure glam version.
Right.
And every single year still to this day it gets reshared.
People still post it.
And I got like 30,000 followers overnight.
From that?
From the meme.
But is that the moment that like kick-started thinking, right, I could maybe try this, become an influencer, or was that?
No, that was the moment that then brands were like, oh, you've got a following.
So then they start to use you?
Yeah, they were like, oh, you must do it. I think people just thought I did it already, but I hadn't.
So at what point did you then like kibosh the makeup?
So I did makeup. So basically what happened was then Opoly messaged me and they wanted me to do like social media and events behind the scene because I had experience as an influencer. So I took the job with them for a year. And then I was doing that, makeup and influencing. So it was like 3 full-time jobs. And I weighed up what one paid me the most money.
And went with that?
Yeah. And also the salon I was working in was shutting down. So it was like perfect timing that I was kind of leaving everything in that salon and like not going to a new salon.
I just move on with it.
Yeah.
So see, when you were taking that step, obviously I would imagine it's hard as well because you're probably doing that, you know that you've got like constant money coming in. I don't mean it's easy, but you know what's happening. You're taking a step into like the unknown. How was that? Because you don't know what's going to come. Do you know what I mean? You don't know.
And it was, to be fair, it was probably quite stupid on my part because I remember my mortgage get approved on the Friday and I handed my notice in that day. I was like, oh, well, I've got my mortgage now. Like, I don't need an actual stable job. Like, I've got like everything signed off. And then I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Because my dad was like, that was your security blanket.
What was your mum and dad saying to you at the time?
To be fair, they back everything I do, but my dad was just like, security-wise, you're now self-employed and do you know what that means? Because I was still, what age would I have been? 23, going on 24? Still young.
So still young, very young. When you took the step into like becoming an influencer, before we move on, right, see an influencer for me, because we're obviously maybe not as clued up as what you all are, what would be like the definition of like an influencer? So see for my mum and dad and all that that's going to be watching, how would you explain it?
I would say like...
Because it is hard, because it's like, it's almost as if it's just always been like a word, like a thing. But for maybe younger people, like what is like the... If you can, it's just...
I would say it's probably like, it is in the name, like you're influencing people to buy stuff or follow a trend or do what you do. Like, I think I'm more kind of lifestyle and fashion. So people would maybe go to like cafes I go to, or like, so it's like things
I try the same things.
Or like, if I do my hair a certain way, they might be influenced to buy whatever I've used in my hair.
We just spoke about that YouTube video as well, about the amount of views on that. And that's what we always say as well, like people buy people. If you're doing stuff and people see it, like they're going to want to try it or they're going to want to buy it. But when you went into doing like, or you became an influencer at the start, I would imagine that it obviously would have been hard. But how do you go about like finding jobs early on? See, for like people that are maybe growing up and going, right, I want to be an influencer, or this is what I want to do. How would you like give a bit of advice to them? Because if you're just starting out, imagine it would be hard. But for yourself, like how do you stick out on the early stages before? Because I would say that at the start you probably had nowhere near the following that you've got now.
No, nothing. And do you know what I always think I've noticed as the years go on? People always say like they follow me for more my personality. Like I think I've always been a very much an open book and like I chat. My mum and dad are on my social media. So I think like if you show you and that's consistent,
people appreciate it a bit
people
more.
Want to like people fall in love or like the person. You can have an amazing fashion sense but be terrible to talk to. Like, so people maybe wouldn't watch you as often.
Aye.
Whereas I think people sometimes come on and be like, oh, what's Abbie and the dog's up to? Or like, if my mum and dad are on it,
it's
like...
a bit more personal.
So I think if you just show you and you're a likeable person, you will naturally do well. It can
be such, as you'll know yourself, but it can be such a probably scary thing for people to take, like the jump initially. Yeah.
I think as well, like, anyway. You just need to do it. Like, I just think nowadays, especially, like when I did it at the start, none of my friends did it. No one really did it. So
what age would you have been when you kind of started?
22, going on
22. So you're saying, like, it probably wouldn't have been as big a thing then as what it is now.
No,
like,
the only two people in Glasgow I knew at the time that did it was Emily Shank and Jamie Genevieve. They were the only two I knew in Glasgow that were influencers or like bloggers, I would call them.
So then, whereas now you look at it and you look at how many people coming through is trying it and stuff, it's so saturated.
There's definitely more of it now, and there's like a bigger community of it in Glasgow, but I think we're still tiny compared to like Manchester and London. Like
100%, but I think for you as well, like you're finding your niche and what you're good at. and it allows you to stand out, because I would imagine it's no easy to get brand deals.
No, and you can get a brand deal, then they'll never work with you again. Like, I think people think
if it doesn't go
it's
well.
consistent. It's not. Like, you can get one-offs that are okay, that's great, but then you've got to think of your next pay, or that's probably my most thing now that I'm getting older that I'm nervous about, because it is so up and down. You're never guaranteed the same same wage.
I think that's what you were saying there as well, like all the work that you put in, and maybe in the years to come, it might be worth it, it might not be worth it. And we're the same, like, you're putting in so much work and you say to yourself, oh, you get a fright some days and you're like, 5-10 years time,
what is your plan?
We could still be like, we could still be where we are, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that is the worry. But I think, like, for you, if you're consistent enough and you're showing brands that you're good to work with, they're always going to want to come back anyway.
Yeah.
Day in the life wise, back then compared to now, I would imagine is like night and day.
Night and day.
In terms of how busy you are. But back then, what would a day in the life have looked like?
So it was good. Like, I have no, like, people that say they don't like the job or whatever. I had a great wee life when I was younger. Like, I was 22, 23, getting free clothes all the time. I was going out, like, going to like nice wee restaurants, mum and dad, or like that as well comes with, you get like free overnight stays and stuff. Like, that's obviously like an amazing thing to get. So I had
at that age as well, you're just buzzing, aren't you?
I was taking on my pals. I was like, Mum, we're going here for dinner. Or like, if we would get like, sometimes you get like free lodges or whatever. I'd be like, we're having a party, we've got this free lodge. Like,
let's use it.
There was good perks.
100%.
But like day to day, it would just be getting up, and I did YouTube loads back then. So it was like filming on YouTube.
Hard.
It's just hard to maintain. It's like editing and all that's just not where I enjoy. So I'm like, ugh.
But I think that, like, obviously for us as well, like, we've started the channel and we've started the podcast and stuff, but now, like, more than ever, when we speak to any clients that's in and stuff, it's crazy how much it's shifted from, like, maybe I used to watch a telly, or I used to watch like movies, TV, to, like, we're finding age groups from like young boys from like 10 to 11. You're finding 40, 50-year-olds like that come in, and the guys like that, oh, I watch your YouTube. Yeah. I'm not saying that like as if they're too old to watch
No, I know
YouTube.
What you mean.
I just mean like that seems to be what they're kind of into, doesn't it?
Sometimes I'm even surprised when people are like, oh, my mum watched your YouTube video, and I'm like, did she? And I just think, I could never imagine my mum putting YouTube on. But then it is a pure known thing. Like, when I moved into my flat, I was asking my dad, I don't even need to get Sky out, because I never put the telly on him. I'm just like YouTube or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
I think it's just mad how much it's changed as well. Like, I know this sounds wild. I never told any of them this. I was at Starbucks last night, right? Now, our channel is tiny, whatever, but I was at Starbucks last night, and the guy that was serving was like, oh, I've seen your YouTube videos.
Amazing.
So we were like, that's what we say to each other. We're like, it's hard to maintain it and keep it up, but people must watch it.
Yeah.
And it's like, just trying to keep it up is a hard part. But
well, that's what I like to watch. So I'm like,
there you go.
Like, I love it. Like, see, when I see like it not being so, like, I don't like watching videos that are so clean. Like vlogs, I mean, like if they're like pure professional.
You prefer like messy, chill stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, is that your normal life?
We've said that as well. Like, we put so much time into some videos, and you put hours and hours into making them, hours and hours into edit. You post it, and it doesn't do well. And then you'll post like a video that's maybe took you half an hour to just get it turned over, and it does 10 times better. And you're sitting there and you're like, what's the point?
It's so confusing. It's one thing I never get. I'm like, how have you not done well and I've put all my effort into you?
It is what it is. You just need to keep consistent with it, and hopefully over time that the growth keeps going. The biggest part of this interview for me as well, and I think the people watching, is obviously moving on to Bly. So along the line, you had the idea to start your brand. I'm guessing you've got the blazer on just now. I'm guessing Bly stands for
my second name, Bly. Yeah. People always wondered. I'm like, no, it's just my second name.
When did the idea come about?
It was actually lockdown, and it was right before lockdown.
As recent as I thought you'd done it way longer.
No.
Recent?
Yeah. Bly will only be 2 years old in May. Coming. What? I know people always think it's a lot older. It's not. It's still a baby.
How did it come about?
So I love a blazer. It's like I wear it probably most days, and I just couldn't get a good blazer. And I was like, oh, how good would it be if I just brought in my own? But I just meant for me. Like, I thought, I'm going to get someone to make me a blazer how I like it, and loads of colours, and then I'm sorted. And then I think it was just like talking to people, and they were like, oh, you would do really well with a blazer line. And then I noticed whenever I'd done like edits or collabs with brands, anytime I wore a blazer, it would sell out. So I was like,
do really well.
So people must be following or like kind of looking like she always wears a good blazer, so they buy into it type of thing. So I thought I'll give it a go, and then lockdown hit, and I was like, that's that script.
So you never pursued it at the start?
Nah, left it. I think the whole first year of lockdown, and then not until stuff started to like lay out, like not be as like strict, I then started to look back into it.
So we're the same. We're obviously in retail, that sort of thing. But for the people that don't know, what does like the start of it look like? Trying to turn, it's okay having ideas, and me and my brothers argue about this every day. Like, it's okay having an idea, but trying to bring an idea to the table, to have the product, and then the hardest part of all is trying to sell the product.
Yeah.
How do you go from managing to turn the idea into getting the first product in? How was it?
It's really hard. Like I remember I got my final box of samples, which was it was the first ever release of stuff, and I loved it. And I was like, but is it just me that likes it? Like, are people?
Are you worried about what? Yeah.
So then I was constantly asking everyone's opinions, but it's hard to, like, as well, I can't draw. So I'm trying to tell like someone who can draw these designs how I want it to look in my head. They need to understand that, and then you're giving that to someone, a manufacturer, to try and make. How
many samples did you go through? A lot at the time?
The first blazer was like 6 blazers until I got it. Right? Yep.
So how did the first drop look? How
long ago? Final one or
the first? So the first time you brought out like your first product?
The first like collection was amazing. I think it's probably still one of my favourites, because I think
what was the collection called?
I think it was just staples.
Just like basic.
It was just like basic stuff you'd wear day in, day out. You could mix and match. But I remember the first ever samples of that. I cried. I was like, this is terrible.
Because of how bad they were?
I've never seen clothes as bad as that. Like, one of them was meant to be a dress and came as a crop top.
I think that's what we're saying as well. But like, it's happened to us over the years as well. And like, it is so hard, because there's probably so many nights that you've had where stuff like that comes in and you're just like, I can't be bothered with this anymore. Can't be bothered with the stress or the hassle. Did you have any nights like that where you just thought, I'm totally fed up with this?
I would say last Christmas was tough. Like the first Christmas of Bly, I was just way out of my depth. There was too many orders for me to manage. Delivery companies were going on strike, not delivering, things were going missing, and I was working in my mum and dad's like spare bedroom till sometimes like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I just thought, what's the point? But
that's the stuff that people don't see, and that's what I always say to like my brothers as well, and like the boys that work in here and my cousins and stuff, like, and I don't mean it to sound like cringe, for example, but that is the stuff that you'll look back on and you'll be like, how good was that? Like,
I do hope that.
There's been nights like we've been in here till 4 or 5 in the morning, and you're getting home at 6, you're sleeping for a couple of hours, you're getting back up, you're coming in, and you're questioning yourself, like, what's the point in this? But you're going to look back at it in 5-10 years time, and that's what we just keep saying to ourselves, and you'll be like, I wish I was back there working away and grinding it out.
I do think, I always say, I hope in 5 years I'm like, it's paid off, or like it's getting somewhere, and I hope in 10 years I'm like, it's where I want it to be, because I'm like, it is hard when you're putting in, and you don't, well, I don't know, but obviously it's every business is different, but like I still to this day don't take a salary from Bly. I don't take a penny.
No, so again, like we don't mind saying it, like everything that we do, we're just working and trying to put everything back into this and grow this. Like for us, it's never been about like money.
No, same.
If it was about money, like we wouldn't be chasing it as much as what we are. Like we're just trying to create a vision, create something that people can be part of, you know, and build something like to be proud of, essentially.
Yeah, but I think even as much as it's not about money, I think sometimes that's when it's difficult, because it's like,
when it comes into play,
you're like, I'm putting in all these hours, but you don't, like, for me, I'm like, I think people always say like, oh, Bly's booming, you must be doing no bad, and I'm like,
how annoying is that?
I'm like, are you mad? I don't see a penny. Not that you don't see a penny of it, but it sits there and I don't look at it, and you put it back. Like you're putting it back in, and I think people think maybe it's cheaper than it is, and I'm like, it costs us a lot to get
100%.
what we're bringing out.
Delivery and things and everything that's a part of that, and the cost to keep it running. But again, like you need to you don't really need to explain yourself.
Yeah,
you do your own thing. You just plod on with it. There's no point in having to try and explain stuff to people that, one, don't want to buy your product, two, don't really care about you either.
Yeah, no.
So that's
What's
the
the
people,
point?
that's the thing, like we always say that as well, and the people that have got stuff to say about you is people that's in a worse position.
Yeah.
The people that wants to have a go is just the people that, I don't know, I don't mean like jealousy sort of thing, but I don't know why people would have like bad things to say about people that are trying to do stuff.
No, I
Like,
know.
so you've started your own brand, you're trying to probably do something that you always wanted to do. Probably when you were younger, and if you were to look at it and go, I've actually started my own brand here,
Yeah.
and you look at how far it's came on, you'll be like, pff.
It is always a thing. I'm like, I still cannot believe I've got my own clothing label. Like, that's just mental to me.
Well, for us, like I've said it to you a million times when you've been in here, the pop-up that we'd done in the town that day would have been July maybe.
Yeah.
Was it July?
No, actually, it was later. It was August. Must
Was
have been
it?
August. No,
So-
wait, end of July. It was.
July, August time.
Payday in
So
July.
you had done the Blyth takeover in the shop, and I remember the morning you were all nervous, and it was a nightmare because the town was shut.
Yeah, that
couldn't-
run.
You couldn't get into the town because of the run. We were bringing stock for Cruise.
Oh,
Mine were running back and forth
yeah,
for the car.
it was all over the place.
So we were bringing stock from Cruise, stock from Merchant City, running in with the cars and stuff. But that day, so that pop-up, for the people watching that don't know, we opened at 10 o'clock, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was only on till 2. So it was like 4 hours. The town was shut, and I couldn't believe.
I remember the minute you opened the door, I went in the back. I was like, I'm just going to go in there because no one's going to be out there. And I thought it was dead embarrassing.
Panicking about it.
And then
I couldn't.
Kirsten was like, there's people out there. I was like, oh my God.
I remember speaking to Terry, and after it, like that night, I was like that. My head was spinning. I couldn't believe the amount of people. Like, you couldn't get into the town that day. So
No.
imagine a day where you've got easy access.
I did think that when I came away. I thought, do you know what? Regardless of how much money was made that day or what was sold that day, the amount of people that made it in when it was raining, all the roads were shut. You couldn't get anywhere
You
near
couldn't
for
get anywhere
parking. I thought, I was actually like, do you know what? That's one thing I was like proud of all of us for managing that.
Well, from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, Ryan can obviously beat this out if you don't want it to be in it. But I think you sold probably about, I think it was like 100 items or something. It was like and that's in 4 hours.
It was actually like, it's most, I think, because I remember I said to you, I was like, is this good? Remember I showed you what we earned that day, and you were like, that's really good. And that, because I'm like,
But
is it good?
what you've got to remember as well is you're selling products that are of a small value.
Yeah.
So we maybe sell a pair of Yeezys on average, say £300, whereas you're maybe selling a t-shirt, a blazer. Your average is maybe what, £30-40. I know the blazers will be a bit more expensive, but your t-shirts and socks, and your average is probably only £30-40.
Yeah.
So when you've done like 100 items, like it was chaos.
It was mental.
It was mental. But
It was such a good day though.
how did that feel? But because like I don't know if you were hiding in the back or whatever, but we were running about serving people, and I remember it was just a good laugh because we were selling items of clothing that we've never sold before. So you get a wee buzz like grabbing stuff, do you know what I mean, and putting stuff through that you've never thingied. I remember this girl was in and she was like, can I get a size 8 or something, she said, and I looked at her, she must have thought I had about 4 heads.
Yeah.
See numbers and clothing.
Yeah.
I didn't know it existed.
Really?
So I was like, I'll just double check.
You're like, I don't know what she's on about.
So I've jumped in the back, and obviously I was like that to them. I've only ever knew extra small, small, medium and large. But at the end of that day, we were sitting, and like we said it to you a million times, I couldn't believe the amount of traffic that came through the door.
No, it was mental. It's still one of the highlights that I've ever done.
How did that day make you feel?
Amazing. It was just like, I felt like finally I could kind of feel like I was an established brand. Like, it's different when you're online. I think it's quite hard. And then obviously Instagram to me, I kind of just feel like it's my job. But being in your guys' store, which is like a pure known store in Glasgow, then like having Bly in it was just, and then obviously being next to other big brands that you've got in here, I was like, that's like a pinch me moment.
But I think as well, like, I remember the day finished and you were chilling up the back and you were sitting and you could just see, like, you were like, like thank God sort of thing.
Oh, it was
Just
such
that
a relief.
moment where you feel like I've put in so much work, like over the years. What you said you just went through previously, and you're just like something's went well for me. It's almost a mad relief, and you're like,
it's a feeling you cannot explain. It's like I can't even explain it. It's just an unbelievable feeling.
What's your plans next for Blyth?
We've got an amazing collection coming out actually this very start of February. That obviously I was telling you guys about was it last week I was in? Yeah, last week. Friday?
Where are we? Tuesday?
When was I in?
Last week.
Yeah, last week. And then probably a big goal for me would be like held in a store. Like just even if it's one item. Just
something.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you went from being in your mum and dad's garage to into the fulfillment centre you'd posted last week.
Yeah, but we went from my mum and dad's like house to basically like a wee office in Garra Hill. So we got that in September, my bike grew it already, and then that's us now in a fulfillment centre. How
was that transition getting into the fulfillment centre? Easy enough or hard?
No, easy. They're an amazing company. They're buzzing to have us on board, and we're buzzing to be there as well. And it's just going to take the pressure off me because it has been difficult. Like I feel like Blyth grew really quickly, and I always said
almost too quick sort of thing.
Yeah, I always said I'm always going to do orders. I used to say, no, I'll always be doing this. Like in 10 years, I'll still be doing orders, but it's just impossible.
Takes up too much time.
And it's like I'm wasting my time on stuff when I could be putting into like the design and stuff or social.
Other things.
Yeah, and then it got to the point I was getting a bit like, always that when I'm doing orders all the time, but I was sick of seeing my second name, see that label. I would go home and I'd be like, see if I dare see that blazer. And then like Lara who does our socials, like, Abbie, can you go out and get content? And I'm like, nope.
You're too busy doing orders.
I don't want to see it. Like I'm sick of the sight of these blazers. But
was there a moment for you like on the journey where you kind of got like I could really make this something here, or you thought that I could give this a right good go here? Because it's hard. Like you probably would have had nights and stuff where, as we said there, like you're like it's maybe selling as much as what you would have liked to, doing as much as what you would have liked to. But has there been like a night or a drop, or maybe the pop up could have been that day where you thought this is?
I would say it was, but they were both at the same time. To be fair, the Sunday collection and the pop-up were the same time, and the grey hoodie I did not expect
people were pre-ordering the grey hoodie. It was months in advance.
We sold out so much, so we had to phone the manufacturer and just be like, just double that. And even at that point I thought, double it? Am I mad? Like,
must be a good feeling. But
it was unbelievable. And it's, what's that, sold out? That's the 4 times that's sold out. The grey and the black, which was your guys' actually idea. That's sold out twice. That's
are they coming back, or are they?
Yeah, they're coming back, and different styles.
So have you got any ideas for this year? Just continue to do the same? And
I feel like I've winged it so far that I'm like, it's working.
Just keep winging it.
I'm like, I think if that's just my way in life. Like even like with influencing and stuff, I just wing it. I'm just like, we'll see how it goes, and it does not bad. So,
well, Blyth, obviously everything we've said there was good. The last couple of weeks, the BBC thing, everything that's been coming out as well, like talking about the scam. I had seen a few stories on your Instagram. I wasn't really sure, still very unsure about what had happened. So if you could like explain that a little bit better for everybody watching and me, because I remember just seeing stories and like you had been upset in the stories, but I was like, what's?
Yeah, I think if you hadn't watched the show, you wouldn't really get it because it was like really short clips. But basically the 9th of January last year, I had noticed I was out for lunch and someone kept trying to put through thousands and thousands of pound transactions, and I was declining it. And then who I thought was the bank phoned like, you're declining these transactions, like, is it not you? I obviously was like, no, blah, 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 blah. They were asking me things like, you made a payment to, it was my mum, what was the amount? So I thought, they must be the bank. And then they were like, you made a payment to ASOS, what was the amount? So I was giving them the answers to my security questions. So he was sitting online and that was the security question. He needed the answer and I was giving him it. And then he sent me a code and it came through the banking app. Don't know how that happened, but anyway, came through the banking app. I gave him the codes and he went, cheerio, hung up. And I knew at that minute that was a scammer. I know online banking, and it was
Did you think after that
I was like, we're done. I gave him my details. And I was so embarrassed that like I didn't say to anyone for a couple of hours because I was like, I know what they're going to say is you'll get your money back. You never gave him your details, and I knew I did. So I was so embarrassed. And I cried in my car for like a full hour. And I was just like, what's the point? What am I going to do now? It's gone. And at that point, I'd just moved into a flat. And I was like, I've put any savings I did have is now in that flat. I've not even got like any backup money to put into Bly. I was like, it's done. It's empty.
So what made you want to come back from it?
To be fair, I didn't. Like, I think I was so sad about what had happened, and it tarnished like all the buzz around Bly, and it had done so well at Christmas that I was just like, oh, well, that's it.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but how does it make you feel? Because as I said there, I had no idea what had happened. I had just seen stories and stuff. Now that you've told me, how does that feel with that being like live on the BBC? And maybe telling that story, like, is it comfortable? How does it?
No, it was probably the worst. Like, see, while filming the show was the worst time of like my personal life, and on top of that, my business life was kind of, well, it had failed. Like, Bly had failed, and opening up about that, I was nervous. Everyone would be like, "Well, you were stupid. Why did you give me your details?" And you get the odd call. I see the odd comment where people are like, "You should have known it wasn't the bank. Banks don't phone you and all that." And I was in such a wild mindset that, like I said that on the show, when that person phoned me, I actually remember I said to him, thank God you phoned. Because I was like, he's actually helped me. He's stopping this from happening. So I felt stupid. It was just embarrassing. And then obviously talk about that. Well, the show came out on the 8th of January this year. So it's a whole year on. And
Is that how far in advance the show gets filmed?
Yep. It's a whole year.
How have you been finding that? Good laugh with everybody?
It's a good, like, I do enjoy filming, to be fair. Like, I don't mind it. Like, I don't really feel like it's any different.
Does it take up a lot of time? Like,
it's hard going. You're there out for hours.
I think for us, when you look at the outside, people will just see like a finished article, but they'll never really know how much goes into the filming behind it. And well, you've just said there that was a year ago.
Well, the scene, to put into context of how much gets shown and how much we film, the scene that we filmed, me and Kirsten in the park, when I'm pure sobbing my eyes out, we were in that park, in that seat for 5.5 hours. And it's on telly for about 30 seconds. See, when I seen how short it was, I was like to the producer, are you joking me? I sat there in the heat, sweating for 5.5 hours, crying my eyes out, and you put that short clip in. But that's the way it always is. You film for hours and hours, and then it's...
I think it's amazing, but like you talk about the scam and stuff, and look at where it is now.
Yeah. I could never have imagined it being still here.
It's one of those ones that just shows, and even any like younger people watching, I know we're still young, we'll try to be cheeky, but like just give it a go.
I think as well, like, I strongly believe if fact I got over that, I feel like now in business,
nothing.
I'd be like, oh, it's maybe not going to be that bad. Like, I thought my world had ended that day, and I was like, financially, how am I coming back for this? But now I'm like, I'm back from it, and it's Bly is so successful, and I don't actually know if Bly would have been as successful if it wasn't for the scam happening and then everything else that came from the scam happening.
Gives you that fire to keep going and make it more of something than you ever would have wanted to before.
Yeah, and I'll never let it fail again.
So see, with the BBC's thing, I seen as well, so Amy and Kirsten are now involved in Bly. Yeah. How's that
amazing
whole thing been?
I think as well, people are like, oh, do you hate having people in your business? And I'm like, no.
Do you feel as if it helps?
100%. Like, they bring... I didn't do social... Like, I didn't go to uni. They did business and all that. They've got experience. They've worked in big fashion brands. I haven't. Like, what they can bring to Bly, I would never have learned or been able to do. So to me, it's an instant bonus. Well. Yeah.
How does it feel having like 3 opinions on stuff? Is there ever any clashes, or is it...
To be fair, we've never clashed. It's just sometimes like... will not agree. So like maybe like Amy will come up with a design and me and Kirsten are going, no.
And then
or like
vice versa.
I'll come up with something, Amy's like, where are you wearing that? Or like so it's things like that where it's not just my opinion now. But then I think as well, I'm lucky because I've been friends with Amy and Kirsten for years. Like, well, me and Amy grew up together as babies, so I've known Amy for a long time, and then Kirsten I've known for like over 10 years. So we kind of dress the same anyway, so we've got similar styles. It's not like I brought 2 randoms in.
So it ties in together well.
Yeah.
Away from like social media and stuff, I know it's constant, like you live life on social media, but do you get any time that you can try and switch off and try and get away from it, or is it just too constant?
Yeah, to be fair, when I'm out with like my actual friend group, like people I've went to school and that with, I'm not on my phone. I'm very good at that. Like, I really just enjoy being around my pals, and when I'm around them, I'm not on my phone, I'm not working, because being on my phone just reminds me of work. Like, if I see like a message come through or I've not posted something or whatever, I'm like, oh, I need to do that in the morning. So whenever I go out with my pals or like have nights in, I'm very good at like switching, not my phone physically off, but just like switching off from.
I was going to say that. Are you good at switching off?
No, I can't actually turn the phone off. See, turning the phone off, like, see, when I go on a plane, I get instant anxiety because I think
not having your phone.
I have no signal and I could go off this plane and I don't know what's going on.
I think it's so important, but because you do need to try, and social media is obviously such an amazing thing, and it has been, but for you, like you're living your life on it. It's 24/7. I would imagine that it consumes you.
Yeah, it does. And like, I share everything, every aspect of my life, the good, the bad. So like when I went to Dubai there for New Year, I treated that as like a holiday, and that's been my first holiday in years.
Because most holidays that you're already going on, you're posting.
Brand trips, yeah.
So it doesn't really feel as if it's a proper chill out holiday.
Whereas when I went in that one, I was like, I don't need to take photos. There's no one's paying me to be here today. Like, I
just
don't
enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I can just, and it was honestly such an enjoyable time, because as well, I was there myself. So like, I was like sometimes just going about myself, not on my phone, or. So I think you need to switch off, or like you're saying, it just consumes you.
But does it, so see, like social media is obviously a horrible place as well, as it is good, but have you ever had like cases in the past where you're just like, I'm finished with this sort of thing, what we're saying about the switching off?
Yeah, I think you need to be, I'm probably not the best person to be, I don't actually know how I'm an influencer because I'm such a softie and I take everything everyone says to heart, but I think I've learned over the years, just don't read it. Like, there's nothing.
Just ignore it.
I can't change it.
Would that be your advice to younger people that are maybe in that kind of like, oh, too worried to get this started because I'm more worried about what people have got to say?
100%. I just don't read it. Like, I'd see if I see a DM that starts, I actually don't even open it. I just delete. Or like, there's places where you can go in and read stuff about people and it's just literally gossip. I just don't go in and read it. Like, my dad, I remember my dad said to me, they're never going to compliment you, so why read it? And I thought, that's true. I'm reading it to make myself feel bad about myself, so there's no point. And I just think you get slagged nowadays for anything. Like,
I know. That's what we were saying as well. Like, for us, I think it's a wee bit different because it's more business related. But see, if I would have said to myself, maybe like when I was leaving school, oh, you're going to try and start a YouTube channel. Like, imagine that in school.
Oh, slagged rotten.
Which is so wrong, because there's probably so many people out there that want to try stuff, they want to start stuff. And the best thing is to start now, start yesterday.
Oh, 100%. I wish I started when I was at school. Like, I just think, so you're not going to make money, you're not going to be successful because someone is going to slag you for it. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
No,
but then
I know.
Now it doesn't make sense because I've done it and I don't care.
I think it's the initial phase of just trying to get started and get right into it is a hard part. But what you said there, it's like, it's hard because people are more worried about what people have got to say than what they want to do.
And I always say to people, you're a hot topic for about a week. See, whenever I've had people say something, it goes on for about a week.
And then it disappears.
Moves on to somebody else. And by that point, you're over it. Do you know what I mean? So I just think, do it anyway. What's the worst they're going to say?
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
So now that we've spoke about all that, we might as well, because the shoes are beside us, but sneaker-wise, like fashion-wise, it's obviously something that you're into, but sneakers, do you take an interest in shoes? I
know you're going to hate me for this, but I'm not, I just like the look of them. Like, I wouldn't know what's what, if you know what I mean.
If you like it, you like
like
it.
Megan, for example, she's like, I need to go into this app and bid for these shoes. And I'm like, bid for a shoe? What are we bidding for? Like, that makes no sense to me. If I like the look of it.
Just keep it. You better just keep it.
I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Whereas like Megan's like, no, these are like one-offs. What do you mean they're lovely? Like, and I'm like,
you need a bit more.
I just don't really get.
Have you got a favourite? Yeah. Have you got a favourite sneaker or a favourite like silhouette, you would say? Yeezys, you ever been a fan of Yeezys?
You know, I'm not a fan of Yeezys, never have. Never owned them.
You ever tried them on?
No.
Can't really knock them till you try them, can you? The comfort.
They do look comfy, but they just, see the ones that go, see them? Is it?
350s?
And they go like wide at the side and in at the toe?
In at the toe?
Not a fan of that. No.
What about Dunks, Jordans, anything like that?
Yeah, I like all of them.
So when you're planning drops around Blyth, do you ever look at like sneakers, what's in trend or what people's like wearing, what's popular, to try and tie it in together?
I personally don't, because I'm not very clued up when it
on the
comes
sneaker market?
No, I'm always just been like that, but I'm like, oh, that's nice, I'll wear that, but I wouldn't know. Like now when is it a Travis Scott trainer? Am I on the right track? No, I am. I wouldn't know what that is.
Terrible, isn't it?
I just wouldn't.
At all?
No clue.
So we can't see it, but there's
Is it that one there?
on the display.
So I liked that, and I was like, that's a nice trainer. And Kirsten was like, oh, that's the Travis Scott things. And I
So
was
you're talking probably.
the baby one. That's a way.
That's the baby olives.
Let me see.
That's the baby olives, but obviously there's millions of different colours of Travis.
Stop.
You've got
But are these not pure expensive?
So I would say kids probably maybe range at like 250. The adults pairs, size wise, you're probably maybe 600-700-ish to now, round about that.
That's wild.
For the bigger size, but there's the original styles can be $2,000 easy, at least.
No.
For the ones that released like at the start.
To be fair.
Because these are the most recent, they are a little bit like less expensive, but over time the price will just continue to go up.
I know you're going to hate me for this. When I see that, I just think that's a night shoe.
Kills us, doesn't it?
See, I
Sword
wouldn't
to
know
the
that
heart.
that's eating. I would just put it's a pair of Nikes.
Well, if you see them,
Now I know.
Now-
Now I know something.
now
Clues
you know.
up.
But the Travis that's like you've said that there, that's like probably the shoe. If people think of like the sneaker market and they think about shoes, like the Jordan 1 Low Travis Scott collaborations have always been the best, and in my opinion will always be the best.
Right.
So
Learn
you can keep-
something.
You can keep that in mind.
Okay.
Right, now onto a Q&A. I'm using the phone for this. I've done well to not need the phone throughout, but so the last week or so, some of these questions have actually came from some clients as well. So
Okay.
we've got a few questions to go through here. So question number 1, what are your top tips on becoming an influencer?
I think just do it. Don't care what anyone else thinks. Stick to like what you like. I think if you start chopping and changing and one minute you're doing this, one minute you're doing that, people are going to be like, you actually don't know what you're doing.
Just be yourself.
Yeah, I think being yourself and I think showing personality will get you way further than anything else when it comes to influencing.
Right, okay. Question number 2. What's your advice for someone that's wanting to start an influencer brand? Obviously looking at Bly, of course.
I would say definitely do it, but obviously learning from my mistakes, I would, now going forward, I would always take a minute rather than rushing into things. Like, obviously with the scam and stuff like that, I kind of believe someone over the phone. Now I'm way more business savvy.
You learn as you go on as well.
Yeah,
But
I just wouldn't do that again. Or like, I always think as well, like I was always scared to ask advice from people. Now I'm like, just ask. Like, ask
Aye,
other
why
people
not?
who are doing it. Do you know what I mean? You're only going to
100%.
benefit from it.
question number 3. What do you consider to be your career highlight so far?
I would probably say in here, like the
pop-up?
pop-up. That was like, I just never expected it to be as good as what it was.
You probably realise like how far like you've came with it, and then you're selling product in person. It's the best experience that you can give a customer. So you've been able to give them the service, give them it in person. They can try it on. They see how they like it. I would imagine returns and stuff with girls' clothing is crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that gets ordered and returned. So it's just such a good and easy process of like getting through it, start to finish.
It was. I remember going home to say, Mum and Dad, I can't believe how many people love Bly, and I remember saying that specifically that sentence, and I thought it just felt good. That was like a pure, like a ticked off something.
Good. What is your dream brand to work with and why?
As an influencer, oh, do you know what? That probably goes for influencer and Bly. ASOS. I think to get on ASOS for me, I would feel like I've made it.
So like, how do you go? How do you go about getting just?
I think the process for to be on ASOS, they
Crazy.
must like you.
But do they work in is it like a? I don't mean like a wholesaler sort of thing, because ASOS is only online only.
Yeah.
That's right. So do they just buy in bulk essentially?
I think
and then
that's
sell?
what they do, yeah, and they've got their own warehouse and all that, so like you ship it to them and they deal with it
It'd
all.
be chaos.
But I think you need to have like loads of stock, and I think like the process
So
to get into ASOS.
why would it be ASOS?
I just think it's like the known brand. Like I think if you
need something, you go ASOS.
you go ASOS, especially like girls. I feel like we're on ASOS. Well, I'm
all
every
the time.
single day, like sometimes 2-3 times a day. So
Right,
I think if your
that's a good
brand's
answer.
on it,
We'll go with that.
yeah.
What was the first brand that you ever worked with?
Quiz clothing.
Quiz Clothing, which I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is quite a... You can answer it if you want, but what's the weirdest thing that a fan has ever done for you?
Done for me. Do you know, I don't actually know if anyone's ever really done it for me like that.
That's good. It's a good thing.
I've only ever had like nice things, like people that bring me in like their brands and or like flowers,
like gifts and stuff.
Yeah, like the girl came in here and gave me like scrunchies. I had flowers that day, cupcakes. I've only had nice stuff.
So nothing bad to talk about?
Nothing bad.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, don't. That gives me fear.
For anyone dealing with hate and social media, what are the tips that you would give to people to overcome them and continue to do what they love?
Just don't read it. It's as simple as that.
Move on. Don't read it.
Don't read it. Delete it. Any hate comment, I delete straight away. Sometimes I'll go to, I start typing and then I go, it's not worth it.
Delete it.
Just delete it. If you can't see it, it wasn't there.
100%. So the last question that we've got to ask here, obviously I had a really good interview, getting the people as well that's been watching to get to know you a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But the biggest question of all is, what is your why and what keeps you motivated to keep going through it all?
That's a good question.
You might struggle to get an answer here.
Do you know what? I say it all the time. I just want to feel settled in life and like kind of dead, like settled and like as if I'm at a happy place. And I think with Bly, I hope that maybe when I'm like 35 or I'm 28 now, but like maybe by the time I'm 35 or 40, I'm like I've accomplished something. I'm in like a happy place and settled in life, like financially, personally, and I feel like I've achieved something. And I want to like, yeah, I'd probably say that, like just knowing that it did well. I don't care if it doesn't make loads of money, but just to like do well.
Is there anybody that motivates you? I'm expanding on this here. Time's going to run out soon.
Two girls that I think are amazing are Sophia and Chinsia. I think their brand as them two and what they've achieved at such a young age is wild. I think they're like the best in the business, in my opinion.
What about family and stuff?
My dad is the hardest working like wee guy you'll ever. He doesn't take a day off. Goes when he's not well. Like my dad is honestly my biggest supporter, and I'm his because I think he's the best, and he's always worked hard.
You need it as well.
And I always say my dad deserves more than he's ever had because I think he works so hard for it. But he's a joiner; he just loves what he does, and I'm like he deserves the best life.
But you find what you love doing, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I've still never worked a day yet, Ryan, have we? We're still going at it, and honestly, I still don't feel as if we've... What you just said there, you feel as if nothing's happening. Yeah. Because you're enjoying it, and you probably feel that so much yourself as well. Yeah,
like, see, because I enjoy doing Bly, see when we did that pop-up, I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. Like, people are loving this. This is maybe actually going to go somewhere. Whereas you kind of forget when it's your own thing, because you're like, I do it day in, day out. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of forget how successful it maybe is.
100%. And you're not used to it.
Yeah.
But it's good to have these things to... Sometimes it's almost like a booster. Mm-hmm. And it's like you need these things to happen when it's starting to get a wee bit hard. The pop-up happens. You get a really good day, a busy day, and you go, that's another boost to try and take it to the next level as well. So Abbie, thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it. It's gave me a bit of a deeper understanding into everything that's happened, and hopefully the people that's watching your falls and stuff have heard some things that they've never heard before. Yeah. You enjoy it?
Yeah, I know. I'm like that. Oh, I did it again. That was so good.
Nervous, but easy.
It was the first one. I was like, right, okay, deep breathe. But no, it was good. It was just like having a chat. You do forget like you're filming. I
think that's the thing. We always said that with the intros and stuff. It's a wee bit, but once you get going, it's sound. I'm still learning. We're still learning as well. Any ideas for anybody that you would like to see on a podcast? Boy or girl? Either Megan Welsh, or Kirsten and Amy. I think they two Amy
business
said she was maybe going to be up for it.
Really?
Or she said she was up for it the other day. So
Kirsten will probably be up for it. I think business wise, they two will be
a good chat.
Yep.
Definitely. So we'll need to get that sorted. But again, thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching. Any ideas of anybody that you would like to see on the podcast, comment down below. But don't forget to like, subscribe. As we said before, the more comments and more likes, more subscribers that we have, we're hopefully going to be able to grow this channel as big as possible and hopefully bigger the guests. But we're looking forward to it, and we'll see you in the next video.